You got a story the world needs to hear, a spark inside that's crystal clear. No more hiding in the digital crowd. It's time to stand up, speak out loud. Every dream starts with a single sound. Your message matters, let it resound. The spotlight's waiting, the mic is yours. Step into the moment, open the doors. Your voice, your vision, your stage. Turn the page, ignite the rage. From whispers to waves, let your truth engage. Your voice, your vision, your stage.
Your voice, your vision, your stage. Welcome to the storytelling journey. We are back once again for another episode with our guest, Lisa Bromfield. Lisa, welcome to the show. Jay, welcome. Now, we were having technical difficulties. We started a few minutes late, but hey, we are here. We're excited. And let me tell you, I ran into LinkedIn is now working in mysterious ways, mysterious in a good way, a favorable way, because had LinkedIn not brought Lisa into my feed, this event would not be taking place. I participated in a wonderful conversation that she had a week and a bit ago, and the stars lined up. Our calendars were aligned. We were able to get Lisa on the show, and let you introduce yourself. Before I do that, let's see how Jay's doing. Jay, can we hear you?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Perfect. All right, we're up and running. Let's turn this QR code off so that you don't wear it the entire episode. How's that? All right, Lisa, welcome to the storytelling journey. You, my friend, have a fantastic story. Read your bio, your social footprint. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've been up to. I have some questions. I have a wonderful conversation lined up. It never goes as I plan because our audience sometimes jumps in and engages, and we put our questions to the side and we focus on making this about the audience questions. So we will fill the hour, and sometimes we go beyond the hour. So we'll do a time check at the top of the hour, see if we're still good or if we have to continue. But I'm going to get off my soapbox now and let you introduce yourself.
Americo and Jay, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm Lisa Bromfield. I'm an author, speaker, transformational life guide, and a little bit more. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. I'm a death doula. I'm a psychic, intuitive, some people call themselves. And I stepped into this magical journey because of a catalyst in my life, a breakup in a relationship that had me look in the mirror and say, something has got to change here. I can't continue down this path. And I found my first teacher, a psychic medium, actually. I studied A Course in Miracles with her for 3 years. And then I stepped into my intuitive abilities, which I never knew I had. We all have intuitive abilities. And in 2018, my 6-figure job went away. And that was the universe taking the 2x4 to me and saying, we want you to do this full time, not on the side. And so I had zero knowledge on how to set a website up. I contacted Wix. And 2 weeks later, after I lost my job, my website was live. And the story goes on from there.
That is fabulous. You know, Jay and I have this conversation where there's always some form of alignment between our guests and the two of us. And here we are once again. You are a product of the circumstances. You left corporate, you started something on your own. I think we're all in some shape or form share a similar journey. Jackie, a relationship coach. She's our first member in the audience. So the stars are slowly starting to align. Jay and yourself, both authors, and that's the one feather that I'm missing in my cap. And I think there's more and more pressure being put on me for that, but uh, that will happen in due time if it is meant to happen.
You know, I know a really good storytelling strategist. Initials JP, but you know.
It's fantastic. You let's circle back to the book. You authored your second book that you've authored. Let me bring it up here. And I had them ready to go, and as luck would have it, there we are. So, The Magic Inside You and The Magic Roadmap. Let's hide that so that you're not hidden behind it. Tell us a little bit about the book writing journey, the stories in the book, and then I'll come out with questions. And I'm sure Jay will have a fabulous set of questions and dialogue for this conversation.
Yeah, well, the first book just kind of came to be, but in the middle of it, I got into a book block. I couldn't write. And one of my spiritual friends in Florida, Catriel, reached out to me and he said, let's go to a Tony Robbins conference. And I said, what? I said, I'm not even a fan. He says, we are supposed to go. I said, all right, I'm going to trust you. And I sent him the money. And the next thing I knew, we were in New Jersey with, I don't know how many thousands of people in this auditorium. After the conference, the writing just came. I made all of these connections with different people who are, they're developmental editors, they're also authors and whatnot. And so I was able to make connections to have a coach help me with the first book. Got that one published last May. And then this past January, in December, I was like guided to find somebody who was going to bring me more visibility. And so I was on LinkedIn. I was getting back into LinkedIn, really redefining myself because my sales profile was still up. And I connected and interviewed with 3 visibility specialists, PR specialists, and Michelle B. Griffin was the third and last one that I spoke to, and I knew she was the right one. The first day we met in an afternoon on January 12th, and by that evening, the concept for the Magic Roadmap occurred. Within a week, I wrote 10,000 words. Then she referred me to her book coach, Jillian Whitney from Easy Peasy Books. And the book just got published. And before it even launched, it was a #1 new release on Amazon. I was like, how did this happen? Oh, my goodness. And I was just so humbled and so honored that it took that position. And that's the book journey for me so far. And the third one's on the way.
Third one's on the way. Wow, you're on a roll now.
Yes.
Fantastic. Jay, any of that resonate? The meeting publicists and rushing to print your book. I know you share stories of your whole book writing experience.
Yeah, well, you know, I think one of the things that sounded really familiar to me was I think we get to a point where we don't think we have the information, right? We're like, I don't know if I have enough to put a book together. And then all of a sudden we get inspired. And I'm getting goosebumps right now because it literally happens like that sometimes, where something inspires you. And before you know it, there is just words coming off of your head, and it looks like steam, but really it's your wheels turning in your brain trying to get everything out. And that's what happened to me. You know, I had all of this information about how to tell a story in me for so many years, and then all of a sudden it came. There was something that sparked the inspiration in me to just put it down, get it out, and get it out to the masses so that they can benefit from it. And I think that was the extra push, was realizing that once I've completed this, other people are going to benefit from the information that I've gained through my own experiences and all the thoughts that I've put together. So that even pushed me even further to make sure it was done. And I made, and I've said this before, I had to do it twice because I lost the original file the first time. So sometimes that inspiration comes twice.
Yeah. Hi, Felipe.
Yeah.
Thank you for jumping in.
Now, has either one of you, now, and I'm sure I know the answer to this, but have you ever been laying in bed and been inspired to the point where you got to get out of bed and you put pen to paper or your fingers to the keyboards? Like, I'm not going to remember this in the morning. I got to do this now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in here typing away and getting these ideas on paper. And you get a little bit better about it. You'll start getting ideas. And now I'm doing an outline. The third book is mostly written, but still, oh yeah, I got to include that in the book. And what is very useful to readers, I found, is the storytelling. That's what they want. They want it because it's relatable. Because like, oh, I've been there. I get it. And so now you've touched them in a deeper place inside. And now they're like, well, if she can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely. And it, now you're giving me goosebumps because that's exactly where I found myself after post pandemic, after 3 layoffs. It's like, what am I doing wrong? And wasn't so much about what I was doing wrong. It was, I felt, and it came to the realization, hey, this is a sign. This is a sign that I got to stop thinking that I can continue where I'm at. You've been laid off 3 times. You've been deemed redundant. This is your calling. This is your sign to find something else to do, or take something that you're good at, that you've been wanting to do for the longest time, but your corporate roles and life has just gotten in the way. So I took that seriously as people started reaching out to me. It's like, hey, have you ever thought of doing this? Have you, like, you're live streaming, you're helping others gain visibility and be found and discovered, and you have some unique creativity, you have some fantastic ideas. Like, I'm open to having you help me. And then as people started to reach out, hey, can you help me with this? I then just shifted from job seeker persona to a business owner persona. And how can I help others like myself who have been in a place and have a similar journey and now want to change their narrative and rewrite or their next chapter, or write their next chapter in this case, and bring that story along and build their legacy. So here I am trying to create these live events and build content and help people who are, 40 plus, who are finding themselves either tired of what they're doing, exhausted because they can't find something. We all have so much equity that we've built up through our careers. We have, we talk about the bucket list that some of us have. Hey, time to start pecking away at that bucket list and turn those ideas into something. And that's what I'm doing. And your book resonates because, listen, there are things that happen, but one of the things that happens most often to many of us is we get inside our own heads, right? And we stop ourselves from progressing. And that, call it imposter syndrome, call it a mindset, we become our own biggest obstacle, right? And your book, and when I started to kind of bruise around your social footprint, this is what you help people with, is to get out of their shells. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just getting out of your own way, because we have all these thoughts that go through our head. And energetically, every thought, every word, and every action is energy. That's why in my talks, I talk about myself as a Reiki practitioner, because we're energy. What you put out, you get back. So by starting with meditation, for example, you're rewiring your brain. The mind is powerful. The story of Joe Dispenza speaks to this. Joe got hit by an SUV in his 20s on a bicycle, crushed vertebrae, laying face down in the hospital. The doctor said, Joe, even with surgery, you're likely never going to walk again. Joe started meditating for hours at a time. He's a chiropractor, rebuilding every vertebrae. Joe walked out of the hospital 9 weeks later. 12 weeks later, he was training. This is the power of the mind. We're powerful beings. We can create a life that we're meant for. We can heal ourselves. The problem is we've been socialized to believe that we can't do it. We're stuck in the matrix. I call the 9 to 5 the matrix. We're stuck in the matrix. Get out of the matrix. I would guess that, Americo, you're very joyful doing the work that you're doing now.
Oh, let me tell you, uh, it is refreshing. It is fulfilling. And on days where I have the least amount of work to do, I don't struggle. I don't panic, because something will happen. Something will arise. And that's just me letting, you know, nature, life, everything take its course. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen. If it's not, I'm not going to let it rent space in my head. Right?
Exactly. You
Jay,
allow things, you plant the seeds and allow. I didn't chase you for this podcast. I haven't chased anybody for one podcast, and yet they keep coming, because I'm putting my energy out there to be visible. And if it resonates with someone, they're going to approach me. And then I get to decide if it is an alignment for us to do something together.
fantastic. So the fact that you're here, there was alignment.
Yes.
Fabulous. And Jay, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. But I touched on it moments ago. Why do we often know what's holding us back, but still we struggle to change? Why is that?
Well, I think it's something that Lisa briefly touched on. Being in the matrix, our circumstances, life, the lessons that we've learned, um, when we become an adult and we start adulting, especially for a long time, we're stuck in that rut sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's safe because it's what we know,
Mhm.
right? And the unknown for a lot of people is scary. So I would, though, and this is what's challenging for me now that I know this, right? Being mindful of these things, that I have become jaded. When I was a kid, I would say, I'm going to do this. And I did it. And a lot of times it was just, I thought, dumb luck. No, it was the universe coming together because I wished it, right? That wide eyed wonderment as a kid, the ability to dream, right? And to have a, um, a way of looking at things that would help you grow. An imagination, really. I've got so many things to say, but I'll try to shorten it here. There was a phrase that somebody asked me a very long time ago, and it was, "Do you know the most powerful nation in the world?" And I said, "No. What is the most powerful?" I said, "Maybe the United States." And they said, "No. the imagination.
Mhm.
I was like, but yeah, cheesy as it may sound, really it is. And when you think about it, a lot of people are now saying what you focus on or what you think about, you bring about,
Mhm. Yes.
right? And they talk, I think Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it all the time. You remember when you were going out for the car, you wanted to get this car and you had this idea of what car you wanted. And then before you know it, as you're in your bus going home, you look out the window and there's the car.
And that's all you see.
And then you turn another corner and there's another car. It's the same car. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? It's just that. It's
Mhm.
as simple as that. What you think about, you bring about,
Yes.
right? And I think those are the things that I've learned really just in the last 5 years, to be very honest.
Mhm.
And I'll go even a step further. In my adulthood, when I thought things were at its worst, I went back to that child wonderment of I need a miracle when the tornado ripped apart my home and nearly took my life and the lives of my family.
Mhm.
And so that and the knowledge of my ancestors, that helped me push forward. And there's so many things in my heritage where, and this may seem odd to a lot of people, but the supernatural for us is just natural.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm going to stop and I'd like to hear what Lisa says.
I think that great comments. What we resist persists. We cannot change when we're comfortable. It has to be in the zone of discomfort. It has to be a leap. And you're always going to land on your feet because Wayne Dyer used to say, if you knew who walked with you on this journey, you would never doubt or be in fear again. You have to do things out of your comfort zone. And the easiest thing to do is follow your heart, follow the joy. So many people are out there working these 9 to 5 jobs and they're miserable. They're in relationships and they're only staying in them. Well, it's comfortable, he brings in a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to leave. And yet, when we take that leap of faith, we're going to step into a path that we never imagined. Now, the subconscious is a very powerful thing. Neville Goddard was a very, very famous spiritual teacher. I am in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You have to know that what you desire has already happened, right? Now, Bruce Lipton talks about the fact that when we go to sleep in the subconscious, this is where we want to plant the seeds. You have to be really mindful of your last thoughts before you fall asleep, because that's what's going to grow the next day. So do a meditation and visualize that house you really want, that job you really want. And when the door shuts, that's a gift. Be grateful. It wasn't meant for you. It wasn't meant for you. So it's really a process of surrendering, allowing, and planting seeds and using the power of our minds.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. But with that, and once again, it's us personally getting inside our own heads. Personal transformation, we start thinking the what ifs, or the why something won't work. We're so quick and judgmental as to why something shouldn't happen, opposed to why we deserve for it to happen. And there's this misconception that personal transformation isn't for everyone. I tried it, it didn't work. We see I used to see this all the time with change management in the 9 to 5 world. You had people who just dug in their heels. This is not going to work. This is a bad idea. Now, moving away from the 9 to 5 and trying to help those help themselves. What's one of the biggest misconceptions people have about personal transformation?
I think they believe it's going to happen overnight. And we're such an impulsive society. Well, it's got to happen now. And it doesn't. And that's what I talk about in my books. You've got to commit to yourself. You've got to be consistent. It's not being selfish, by the way, because what you're doing on this journey is it's a remembering of who you really are, which is love. We came into this planet as love, but we got conditioned otherwise. We got really critical, beating ourselves up for these things we call mistakes. I call them lessons. That's how we grow. Now, if we keep repeating the patterns, we're not doing the work. You've got to do the work. I meditate every single day. I self-treat with Reiki every single day for at least an hour. That's for me. The key place to start is meditation, 5 minutes or less, the same time every single day. I promise you, you will see change. But you have to remember this about transformation. It's messy. It's very messy. It's a roller coaster. You're going to have these days where you're feeling invincible. You're going to have other days where you just want to stay in bed and pull the covers over your head and cry. But that's okay, because that's a release. When everything is falling apart, it's actually falling together.
Yeah, you couldn't tell me that after the tornado. You couldn't, and really though, that's at the crux of what you're talking about. So, I talked about the supernatural being natural, at least for a lot of indigenous populations across the globe. And for us, I'm from Guam. You mentioned Wayne Dyer earlier. Wayne Dyer actually was in the Navy and was on Guam. And he credits his time on Guam for helping him in his later career and helping others. So, he's not the only one. I don't like saying the other guy, but L. Ron Hubbard also spent some time on Guam, took pictures while being there, and he's the guy that, Scientology. But what we're finding out, a lot of these indigenous populations across the globe who have in their culture spirituality that deals with the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Science is now proving those things that they did as part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring this up all the time. When people burn sage and they, try to clear the house, right, of negativity, of bad things, of bad spirits. Science has proven now that when you burn sage, that it does, in fact, kill bacteria in the air.
It does.
So that's one. When we talk about, eat bad and good and evil and things like that, and negative energy and positive energy, I mean, we studied this in science, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? How many times have you also heard, and, I'm old enough to know a little bit about the hippie culture because I know several. And, they always referred to people as beings of light. Well, now science is saying that our DNA, when they try to communicate in the cells, they do it with photons, light. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So science is now showing what human beings have known and have learned intuitively for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So for those of you in the audience going, this is just woo, woo woo, this is all woo woo. It's not. It's not. It really is. These are things that can truly impact your life. And if you follow it just like Lisa has and share it, it can have a profound effect on you and those around you.
Absolutely.
Now, would you say, and this open question, Lisa and Jay, would you say that by following, you have either a shorter path to alignment, to authenticity, and to a fully expressed version of your real self? Or is that just something that takes more than science and takes more than books and learning?
It's not a one size fits all. I make that clear in both of my books. You've got to do, I give you the methods in the first book, I give you the framework in the second book. And it's just committing to yourself. Most of my clients just don't commit. Oh, I can't meditate. Yes, you can. I could take you into a 2-minute meditation and you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel so much better. It doesn't take that much. And people don't commit to themselves because they don't love themselves. They don't think they're worth the time. They don't think they're deserving of the time. That's what the journey is. It's that self-love, loving yourself, saying, I am enough. So it's not a woo-woo thing. When you meditate, you're going to start hearing like a little inner voice and you're going to think, oh my God, am I crazy? No, that's spirit. That's your guides. That's your angels. That's where I get all my guidance. I have been a nomad moving to different states, and every single move has been guided in meditation, right? So it's not a woo-woo thing. Cleansing your space for energy. You can be around somebody that's draining your energy, and then you sage yourself, or you spray yourself with sage, or you do some sound to cleanse your energy, or take a bath with some Himalayan pink salts. And all of a sudden you're feeling better. And you're like, well, how did that happen? Because you're clearing your energy. So it's not woo-woo. If we just remember and get back to the fact, you talk about the Indians and the chakras, the 7 chakras, we actually have 11 of them. This is where our emotions get blocked. Emotions get blocked in the body. So when you have a Reiki practitioner open those, oh boy. And that was my work for the first 3 years. My teacher would go in and clear my chakras, and then we'd talk about my readings and my lessons and whatnot. And I just got better and better and better. And then all of a sudden I know that I'm a Reiki practitioner in 2023, and now I'm doing the work. And that was synchronicity. I met 2 people in 2006 when I moved to Arizona, and they ran a peace circle. And the woman, Tony, had studied A Course in Miracles, and her husband, Skip, was a Reiki practitioner. And back then I'm like, well, this is all woo-woo. Well, look what I'm doing now. That was the universe giving me a foreshadow of things to come. So it's all here right now. You're going to do it your way, but the idea again, and I say it over and over again, you've got to commit to yourself and be consistent. And if you do that, I promise you're going to have results.
Jay?
Oh, man. Good stuff. Again, talking about the bridge between science and woo-woo, right? It's not. Dr. Joe Dispenza talking about him again, epigenetics and how that impacts us. Epigenetics basically is an outside force that impacts us as human beings, even down to the cellular level, changing us down to the cellular level, which is how Dr. Joe Dispenza says, hey, that's how I walked out of the hospital. Epigenetics. The belief that something outside me could really come into me and change what's inside, change everything down to the cellular level. And so it was something that was new to me and I didn't fully really understand. And then I went back again to that time after the tornado. And I've gone through these things multiple times in my life where I'm going to say out of desperation, I kept going back and doing the same thing over and over again consistently because it was my focus. I have to get to this point and I need to do certain things. I need to follow these steps to get there. And it's no different than making sure like going to school. I'm going to go to class and make sure I learn. And so the next day I'm going to do the same thing and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you're walking down the aisle with your diploma. It's the same thing. You have to go to class daily. And that's how you learn. So you keep doing that. And at the end, you're going to get your diploma.
I believe everybody needs a teacher. I don't think you can do this alone. That's my humble opinion. I've had many teachers, and you have to have a teacher. Sure, you can read a lot of self-help books, but I think it's a combination of things and learning different techniques, different methodologies, practicing them, seeing how they affect you and how you grow from each of them. And eventually you're going to blossom into something that you never expected. Epigenetics literally changes how your genes express. I am not the same person I was in 2013 when I started this work. I'm absolutely not. I've always been sweet and happy, but I'm a very different person.
Fabulous, because this is a great segue to the next question. So we take the example of education, learning, and some people have this mindset: if I follow these steps, this 4 years in school, in academia, get my degree, then magic is going to happen. Or if I follow this framework, magic is going to happen. And it doesn't. And people have this expectation of, well, I spent all this money, nothing happened. Well, no, you got to roll up your sleeves and take what you learned and go find that magic, go create that magic, right? You can't just expect it to happen. And the question I had parked for this conversation was, why do so many people fail to recognize that magic? They expect it to happen. They think that by paying for it, it's going to happen. But sometimes it's right under their nose and they can't see it.
They can't see it because they don't think they're enough to receive it. Because most people I work with, their heart chakras are blocked. And the biggest part of this is the other piece is forgiveness. If you don't forgive yourself and others, you will never set yourself free on this journey. Now, when you forgive others that have hurt you, it doesn't mean you condone the behavior. It doesn't mean they're in your life. But it sets you free in a way that that negative energy that you experienced with them no longer holds you back. And now, hand in hand, gratitude comes in. Now you can feel gratitude at a much deeper level once you've forgiven yourself. I do a lot of forgiveness work with people, with themselves, because they hate themselves. They think they're stupid. They think they've made all these mistakes. They don't think they're deserving of a really good life. And so we go in and we release them from those past mistakes, which were actually lessons. And I had one client, she was a teacher for years, and she did a session with me, and she wrote me a note about a week and a half later. And she said, my students used to put little notes thanking me for certain things, a gratitude jar, and I never could touch it. And the other day I went in it and I opened it up and read their notes. Each one pulled one piece out at a time. And I was able to receive it for the first time in my life.
Oh, you're giving me goosebumps. Whew. Ah, that is magical. That is magic. Thank you for sharing that piece, that story with us. Now, I mentioned moments ago those of us who can't recognize magic or have expectations of that magic happening. Then on the opposite side of that spectrum, there are those who are presented with magic but fail to accept it because they feel that they're being selfish for having to accept it. Whether, oh, maybe this is not my time, I can't, whether it's kids, family, what have you. And you decide, no, I'd be selfish if I did this at this point in my journey. What is your thought? And I know you talk a lot about selfishness is not really a problem. We, it's actually something that you welcome. It's okay to be selfish,
Yeah. It
right?
is okay to be selfish. It is okay to work on you and make space and make time. People say, oh, I don't have the time to do that. Baloney. You have time to turn the TV on or scroll on TikTok, but you don't have time to take 5 minutes to meditate. So this whole idea, again, it's receiving. People are blocked in their heart because they don't think they're deserving of it. Oh, I shouldn't take that. Oh my goodness. Open your heart and say, well, thank you, universe. Because when more abundance comes to you, remember, abundance is not just money. Abundance is freedom. Abundance is time. Abundance is surrounding yourself with people who really love and honor you. We are so attached to money. I'm not saying money is a bad thing, but for many people, it's the end all do all. I know so many people who have all this money and they're not happy. They're not joyful.
You know, the situation with the tornado, it taught me several different lessons. It um, One of the ones was, material things, they come and go, right? But what's precious is your life and the lives of the ones you love, and those are the things you should be holding on to more so than those material things. And there's nothing like a tornado to let you focus on those things, because all those things are taken away from you. You don't have them. So all you have is each other. And that humbles you. But there were so many things, little miracles that happen to also reinforce the magic of how we survived, right? And I think all of us, and I say this often, we all experience storms. Maybe not to the degree I have, right? But we as human beings, we experience these storms. Now, do you bring an umbrella? Do you bring a raincoat? And what does that look like for you? What is that umbrella? What's that raincoat? Many people, even if you don't ascribe to what we're talking about, if you don't have faith in a higher being, if you don't have faith in the universe, if you don't have faith in the woo-woo, I know you have faith in people you love. I know you have faith in humanity sometimes, right? I think that that still exists. So faith is something innately in us as human beings. And so I think this is something that we can all come together, to help each other through some of these times in our lives that, you know, we may not see that we have the magic in us. And
Mhm.
maybe we need to lean on somebody who does. And so those little things did occur for me during the tornado. I'll give you one example. Um, I have a conch shell that I used to use to do my chants and to um, do poetry, right? I would blow the conch shell to call upon my ancestors to be in the space. And that conch shell signified the beginning of the chant or the poem. And I thought I had lost it. I could not find it. I have it in a ceremonial bag. And I was literally picking up the pieces of my life in the field next to what used to be my home. And my buddy offered to come help me. We were at work, and my boss was like, "Look, go do what you need to do." And he was kind enough to even have my coworker come with me. And I said to him, "If I find this conch shell, right, you got to remember everything was just in pieces, literally in pieces everywhere in front of me, including, the fibers between the wall, right?"
Mhm.
I said, "I will put my lips to this thing, even if those those itchy fibers were on. I don't care. I will do it because it's a part of me. It's a part of my
Mhm.
ancestry, right, and my heritage." And so, long story short, as I was looking around in the field, my friend taps me on the shoulder, and he's looking at me, and and he says, "Man, I can't even imagine being in your shoes right now." And the very first words out of my mouth was what my grandmother and my mom had told me for many, many years, and that is, "God is not sleeping." I'm going to get choked up here because that's what happened at that moment. I got so choked up, like I've never experienced this before. My knees buckled, and I wept like a baby in the grass. And there I was, looking down because I was so humbled by that experience. And I saw what I thought was a shell. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's in pieces." And underneath rubble that could have just easily destroyed this shell was the intact shell,
Yeah,
untouched.
that's great.
And sure as day, even with all that stuff on it, I blew that conch shell. And my wife on the other side of the yard is screaming at the top of her lungs. And it was, to me, a sign that I'm still here and things will get better. So I know this is a long story, but I
Great.
wanted to share that.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
So the story you shared with us, very emotional. I could feel the emotion as you were telling the story, but your resilience and your persistence to find that conch shell is something that many of us in our life's journey happen to do. We all have that conch shell, something that we're resilient to, something that we are reluctant to give up because we understand that that's where the magic is. But what happens to those of us, and I say this because I've found myself in this predicament many a times, where we're reluctant to let go, which is the opposite, when the right thing is to let go, but we can't. How can we help? What advice can we give people who are struggling to let go?
Letting go is tricky because it's kind of like you're holding on to that steering wheel, right? And I tell people, get in the passenger seat and let the universe take over. They've got this for you. But people won't hand it off to their higher power, the universe, whatever you source, whatever you want to call it. Letting go, the best way I can tell people to let go is go find joy. Go do something that brings you joy. It might be a walk in the woods. It might be crafting. It might be going to grab a cup of coffee with a friend and leaning into the people that hear you and see you. Those are the people that are with you during the hard times and the good times. So letting go is a process. It's not going to happen just like that. It's gradual because our grip is so tight because we're so used to it. We're so comfortable with it. Oh, no, 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 I need this. And as you know, as we step into new versions of ourselves, and I've stepped into many versions of myself, now author, speaker, forward facing, is we're grieving that old version of ourselves because that's the version we were comfortable with. Like I've been teaching Reiki and working with private clients, and now it's quieted because they want me writing more. They want me speaking more, right? So there's these pivots that happen, but we're grieving. We're like, no, but I like that old version. Well, that old version may not totally disappear, but you gotta let it go so that the new one can evolve. It's unbecoming everything you've learned and becoming not something new, becoming a version of yourself that you love and where you experience life with joy and purpose.
See, my biggest obstacle, and if we were to take Jay's narrative with the conch shell, he had hope and he was persistent. And hope sometimes blinds us because with hope and you have faith that, hey, we're going to come out of this on the other side and things will be okay. Listen, and I'm speaking from a relationship perspective. You hold on because of the kids. You hold on because, you know what, we can't be the only ones who are in this predicament. And you just go through the motions. And then you hope that things are going to get better, and they don't. And by the time you realize, okay, now it's time to let go, you then come out the other end saying, crap, I should have let go years ago. Because look how much better I feel. Look how much better everything just becomes. But that hope, you want to find that shell, and you have hope. And some of us find it, but more times than not, we don't. And that is part of, I think, all of our narratives. We have a story where we've been blinded by hope and should have let go.
We're
Anyway,
blinded by the shoulds. We're
yes.
should we're shoulding all over ourselves. Well,
Oh,
I should
I
be
like
doing
that.
I should be doing that. We're shoulding all over ourselves. Stop it. Stop it. Let go. If it's making you miserable and unhappy, why in the world would you continue? And then now we have a breakdown in communication. Everybody's texting, right? And that's a wall in and of itself. I get on the phone with people, the people that I love. I voice text so people can hear the emotion. And I ask people to voice text me back because we've lost that. We're disconnected from each other because of technology.
I, I'm gonna use a couple of analogies, symbolism here. So, a lot of people back in the day, they would hop on trains and go towards a destination, right? He used to call them hobos, and right. So these guys would hop on trains, and because they want to get to that destination, they're holding on for dear life. They're not letting go, but they're missing all the beauty along the way to that supposed destination. And if they had let go at one stop or two stops or just one place along the way, they would have experienced the beauty of where they were in that moment. And a lot of us were so fixated on that's where I need to be. So we hold on for dear life. But if we stepped off that train once or twice, right, skedaddle past the conductor, right, looking for tickets, you look at where you are, and it's beautiful. Mountains, streams, places. But we don't even see that as we're traveling towards that destination because
We've got these blinders on, right? And letting go. If you don't let go, the universe is going to step in. In 2018, I was miserable at that job. I went to work. My boss hands me a piece of paper. I'm sorry, your job's been eliminated. And I was like, yay! I was celebrating, right? I was scared at the same time. I had a mortgage and things to pay, right? But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So the universe will intervene either with something like that, often with illness. Some people look at illness as a bad thing. Often that's the thing that stops you in your tracks to pause and really be grateful for the small things in your life, for the small blessings.
Oh man, I'm putting up my hand like preach, because I hear it. That's the thing. The tornado, right? This is what we're going to be doing. This is how things are supposed to be, and the universe, God was like, nope. we're gonna go this way.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that happened, so we're sitting there going, I'm trying to figure out why is this happening? Why God? Why me? Why my family? Why all the whys. You were asking about you're saying about the shoulds. I was saying the whys, all of it. And then my mom, just a year and a few months later, I got the call. You need to come over. I live in Alabama. They live in Washington. My mom was like, first off, it was my birthday, and my mom is in stage 4 cancer, fighting for her life. And I call just to see how she's doing, call to see how my dad's doing. And my mom, she's the one who keeps all the birthdays and things. She knows everybody's birthday, right? Down to the hour we were born. And I knew something was wrong because she didn't wish me a happy birthday. And being selfish, I said what I wanted to say and I hung up. And I went to my wife and I said, she didn't wish me happy birthday. And then it sunk in, and she's not doing good. And a week later, I got the call, you need to come. Anyway, long story short, my mom transitioned. And even that was a miracle in and of itself. When we pray, it sounds like a chant, And so when we were praying, it sounds like a chant, and I think that's part of what helped. But my mom, we were called to the room where she was in hospice. And after a week of being home, um, my relatives said, come, you all need to come to your mom and say goodbye.
Mhm.
And she had not been breathing for a couple minutes by that point. When we were praying, and we were praying for a good hour, and my mom was still, she was not breathing. And my brother was at the head of the bed, and he reached over and hugged her head and whispered into her ear. And I don't know what he was saying, but he cried. Now, my mom, before she went into hospice, at the hospital, she said, when people come in, all I ask is that you not cry. Do not cry. Not in my presence. And so here's my brother now weeping, sobbing. And after an hour, my mom's hand comes up to console my brother. We lose it midst of prayer. And we are crying and laughing and hugging and cheering, all the things. And my mom says, stop crying.
Oh,
She came back because we weren't ready.
mhm.
We weren't ready. She had already gone,
Mhm.
but she came back because we weren't ready. Now, I'm going to try to sum this up.
Oof.
But at the end of that conversation, with all of us being there and thanking God for her being back, I think a few of us felt guilty for doing that. Because that evening, during this entire time in hospice, she was silent. She would converse with you, she would pray. But that evening, she was moaning in pain.
Mhm.
Sunday, went to church. I say all of this to get to this point. I didn't know why that happened, the tornado. That evening, and finally, when we did say goodbye to my mom, the very next day, it was really the next day. The guilt was so strong in a lot of us that we asked mom if she would like to go.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that, I think that was a little rude of us, but I think we were trying to reconcile what was going on with our love for her and not wanting to lose her. But to bring those two things, the tornado and the loss of my mom, together into one story, I needed that to happen so that I could be prepared to be there for my mom when she needed me.
Mhm.
Because what I didn't say at the beginning of this story was my mom said to me on the phone before the tornado, get somewhere safe, pray, be sure you're okay. She was there for me then so that I could be there for her when she needed me.
Mhm.
It's not woo. There
No.
are reasons things happen. And we may not know in the instance of those traumatic things that are going on in our lives why,
Mhm.
but things come together. And so don't wait for a tornado. Don't wait for illness, right? Take the steps read the book, lean on somebody who is in tune with things like this.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, you gave me goosebumps, as you so often do.
Yeah.
Now, there's one thing that I want to share with those who are listening, those who are with us live, and those who might be listening to the replay down the road. A little narrative on what I do behind the scenes when I'm planning these events. Jay trusts me enough, and I say trust because he's never questioned me, to put these events together. I bring guests, and for some miraculous reason, Jay just it doesn't ask me for questions. Do you have questions you're going to ask ahead of time? Uh, do you have a bio that you can share? Nothing. He shows up and he puts the trust in the event to unfold and happen in real time. We show up as our authentic selves, and we've just experienced an example of what we just talked about for the last hour. Things will happen. The universe will find a way for things to unfold, and things will happen, and we will land on our feet. And today is a great example. We came together, and the connection you two have and continue to have, like this has happened sequentially, episode after episode after episode. And I don't know, I wouldn't call it a gift that I have, because it just happens. We just seem to align with all our guests. And Lisa, it has been a fabulous hour. We were at the top of the hour. I did promise I was going to check in at the hour, but I didn't want to interrupt. I can't recall who was talking at the top of the hour, but let's take a moment here and thank you for joining us and being part of this conversation. And once again, just as I promised, the one thing I did promise does happen time and time again. I have an entire series of questions that I try to fit into the conversation. We've parked some of those because we were having great dialogue. And this is what the storytelling journey is all about. It's about it's about presence and less about performance and about a production. This is an opportunity for everyone to visualize that conversation is necessary. People are craving, they are starving for the human connection. And that's what I want to bring here on the storytelling journey. I don't want it to be polished. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be real. And I want it to be an opportunity to spotlight our guests and let them share their narrative, their story, and the fruits of their labor. In this particular case, you're now giving back through your books. You're teaching others in other ways. And once again, from my heart, thank you very much for being with us this last hour.
Thank you so much for having me.
Jay?
You know, I usually give a little diatribe of stuff at the end. I think I've interjected a lot. I want to ask one last question, I guess, Lisa, if you don't mind, Americo.
Nope.
You know, we talk about Reiki. You've been a practitioner and a person who helps others with that, and used to, at least, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's two things I've read. One, that, you know, even the music that we listen to on the radio is at a level that may be a little harmful. And there's some people say that there's a magic level that is much more in tune with who we are as human beings. And that's one thing I just want to kind of ask you about. What do you feel about what people say about that? And then the other is this controversial study by a Japanese researcher regarding weather. and I'm sorry, not weather, but water. So with water, he played heavy music, heavy metal music, stuff that was negative, screaming, and the water had turned almost rancid and black.
Mm-hmm.
And then he played music that was loving and had the word love in it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
The water was pristine. After he played the different music, this is what happened to the water. And some people, poo-poo it and say, that's not really science. But what do you think about those things and how sound and even words can impact the world around us?
Yeah. Energy. So first of all, I just want to say all of my Reiki work has been done virtually. I rarely see a client in person. So first of all, that speaks to the fact that it doesn't have to be, the person doesn't have to be right next to you. Okay. So music, sound. I built this shamanic drum. After I lost my job, I was guided to work with a medicine woman and a shaman in Arizona, and I built Serena. I use her in all of my sessions through a microphone on my computer, and clients melt. This opens them up because there's a vibration to it. And not too many people have been exposed to the drum, by the way, but that goes for sound bowls, right? Tibetan sound bowls, I have those as well, flutes, any kind of sound is a vibration, a frequency. Remember, vibration and frequency, love, gratitude, joy, peace are up here. On the bottom of the chart is fear, guilt, shame. So when we're asking why, and I have to double back to that, when we're asking why in a situation, why is this happening to me? That's victim energy. You're going to attract more. What you want to ask in the situation, and it's difficult to ask when you're in the thick of it, is what is this teaching me? What is this teaching me? So we have different frequencies, 432, 528 hertz, which are love. And there's truth to this. So you can go onto YouTube and you can find thousands of different frequencies. The key is to plug into it, either with a headset or plugs, because each ear is going to absorb different frequencies. And it's just, I listen to them every day. And it calms the nervous system down. Remember, a lot of times we're in this reactive state because the chaos and the energy that we're feeling around us on the planet, we absorb that. Many of us are empaths. That means we take on the pain of other people, of the chaos of the universe, because we're energy, right? So yes, music is very powerful, and it can help calm your nervous system, allow you to be more present, and change, again, your cells and your body. You're going to respond to that. That's a beautiful thing, right? So yes, absolutely. I believe that's one of the techniques you can use to really help yourself.
Jay?
So to end and bring everything together, I used a lot of that after the tornado. I mean, I dove into everything that I could read about Dr. Joe Dispenza, everybody in the space, right? Really, epigenetics, things like that, to understand the why and to help me get from where I was to where I wanted to be, and to be able to let go, like we were talking about. Let go of all those things I had lost in the tornado. And so I just want to say this. I lost a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house nearly my life, and it really wasn't much. And now I have 2 homes. Now I have many grandkids, a lot. I think we're building a tribe here. But I had thought that was going to be the end of the world, but it was the framing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It was the beginning of a new world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not perfect. I keep falling back into the jaded adult, the stinky guy that has stinky thoughts, instead of being the bright-eyed dreamer of the kid who said, hey, I'm going to be on TV, and became a reporter in his adulthood. That's what we need to do. Be bright-eyed, dream, look for the magic, and like Lisa said, meditate. For some of us,
and be grateful. This is
being grateful.
This is so key to it. That's what the G in magic stands for. Is even in the thick of a bad situation, find something to be grateful for. And if you can't feel it at that really deep level, then thank a friend for something, for their support, because that's at least showing the universe you're being grateful. Because remember, gratitude's up here. Now, you don't see it on the scale. 540 is joy frequency. That's where they think gratitude sits. Gratitude is one of the most important things that you need to express on a daily basis. Write it down. 3 or 4 things every single day. I wake up and I say, thank you. I've got my health. Thank you. I've taken another breath. The little things, because gratitude brings in more abundance.
This is beautiful. I am going to have a moment where I'm going to repurpose this conversation, and I am so looking forward to redistributing and putting today's conversation in writing so that those who prefer to consume this content by reading it, I'm really looking forward to putting this together. This will find its way onto Substack as a summary, and it also becomes a demonstration on how we can repurpose these live events. So look forward to it. Are you on Substack, Lisa?
Yes.
All right. So we'll make sure that we look for you and we tag you so that you get the appropriate credit and eyes on you and all the wonderful work that you're doing. Jay, I want to thank you once again for making it. I know it's the dog days of summer are just around us, and we'll probably look at taking a break, maybe not in June or July, but I know that your birthday in August is a time where we might pause and come back in the fall. But this has been fabulous. I can't thank you enough, and both of you. Yeah,
thank you.
You make the storytelling journey so much fun. I love creating these conversations, and I love meeting some wonderful people like yourself. And I'm going to close the room down, or else we can be here for hours. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day, wherever your day finds you.
Have a good one.
You've been carrying wisdom like a loaded page, years of miles, scars, lesson engraved. You did the work, you earned the view, but the numbers haven't followed you. You've got stories worth more than likes, vision sharper than a million mics. It's not about grind.